Okay, so there's obviously going to be spoilers when it comes to Peaky Blinders' final season, namely the finale. Now, this is a show I've become pretty fond of over the years. It's pretty much the only show I get excited about when a new season's about to drop. On Netflix, I mean. Because I do watch a lot of shows, but most of them are not on Netflix. The show itself is actually like a BBC production, but they've got some kind of marketing or licensing deal where the season airs on Netflix like a couple months or so after it drops. So if you're from like the UK, then you've probably seen the finale like 4 months ago or something like that. But I just saw it the other day. Now, I found out about this show because of those goofy-ass memes where it's like sort of like the Joker, where it's some edgy quote that the character never said, except instead of the Joker in this case, it was Cillian Murphy's character from this show. Now, when I found out the guy from the memes is the main character in Peaky Blinders, I was like, okay, so the show's edgy, I guess? Which was fine. I always liked edgy things. I mean, I grew up on like Jet Li movies and playing video games like the extremely underrated Shadow the Hedgehog and, of course, the Max Payne games, which I really have been wanting to replay. Anyway, the show itself has definitely got some edgy moments, but it's far from like the meme that you might think it is from the edgelord posts on Facebook and whatnot. But the show's very stylized. I mean, it's the only show where I think I'll never get tired of how many walking montages to cool music they have. It's done really good, I guess, in my opinion, because it never annoyed me. Whereas something like Sons of Anarchy, at least by the end, I was just super annoyed by how they crammed like 9 montages into each episode with fucking Katie Seagal singing. Nothing against her, but, you know, by that point her character had become such an evil fucking person that we definitely don't want to hear old biker grandma lady singing. Now, that might have to do with the fact that Stephen Knight is a better showrunner than Kurt Sutter. I mean, I don't like to hate on Kurt Sutter because I liked Sons of Anarchy, but I definitely prefer Peaky Blinders, and it's definitely the more better made of the two productions. I mean, obviously Peaky Blinders is far from perfect, but it's definitely pretty well made. And not everything Stephen Knight touches is gold either. He directed this movie called Serenity that I actually watched. It has Matthew McConaughey and Anne Hathaway. Now, you might think, oh, that could be a pretty good movie. They're both pretty, critically acclaimed actors, and they were both in Interstellar together, a pretty good movie. This movie's even got Kendall Roy from fucking Succession, who it absolutely wastes. I mean, this guy was great. In another movie he was in with McConaughey called The Gentleman, where he played this little weaselly businessman, crime guy who's trying to buy McConaughey's weed empire. Great fucking movie. His character is a pompous little weasel, and he plays it perfectly. But Stephen Knight doesn't discriminate. Now, I don't know if he wrote this movie or not. I guess I could check real quick. Yeah, he wrote it. So that right there proves that he's not a great writer all the time. He can write a stylized British crime drama really good and, put together some really cool scenes and write like one of the coolest protagonists I've seen on TV, but he definitely cannot write a movie about a simulation or mystery or thriller, as this article is calling it. But I don't want to go over the whole movie. It's really stupid. Some kids like abuse, and he creates this video game, and it turns out the whole time McConaughey is a video game program. And there's a part where Jeremy Strong literally walks up and says, "I'm the rules." Now, I'm sorry if I spoiled any of that for you guys. It's a terrible movie. And I usually like to find the good in movies. Even bad ones, I try to find a couple good scenes. But there's really none to be had in this one. I mean, there's a whole scene where they bang, literally for no reason other than the fact that, we've got McConaughey and Anne Hathaway. A sex scene clip in the trailer will sell this movie better, so we need to have that. Anyway, though, I'm getting off topic. I like Stephen Knight, though. Taboo is a great show. Anyway, back to Peaky Blinders. So I found out about this show when I think it was just starting its 4th season or something like that, or the 4th season had just dropped on Netflix. And seasons 1 through 2, 3, I absolutely love. 4 I had some issues with because I fucking hate Adrian Brody's performance as an Italian American in that movie. It's a little ridiculous how he portrayed him. It was almost like a fucking caricature of Marlon Brando from The Godfather, which, is kind of baffling, but then when you look at how stylized Peaky Blinders is, I guess it's not that surprising. I mean, look how Alfie's character is portrayed. And that might be all Tom Hardy, but Stephen Knight and Tom Hardy, they know how to craft zany characters for Tom Hardy to play, as seen in Taboo. But I'm not here to talk about all the other seasons. I'm only here to talk about the last episode of Season 6, and I've pretty much digressed for like 5 minutes now, so I'm going to get to it. So, spoiler warning, I'm just going to come out and say it. I'm happy that Tommy didn't die. That was a twist I actually really liked. I'm kind of sick of these shows feeling the need to moralize in their final season, like to make the audience feel bad that they've been rooting for a bad person. Obviously, in instances like Breaking Bad or The Sopranos, we're watching this guy become much, much worse of a human as they, progress through the story, or they're just showing their true colors. In both of those cases, they're kind of just showing who they really are underneath all the surface. Now, Tommy is a little bit different. He's always been this haunted kind of guy and definitely has killed a lot of people in cold blood. But he was never written in a way to have the audience root against him, like how Tony Soprano and like Heisenberg were written. And while we're on the topic of spoilers, I'll probably make a whole video about it when I'm less mad about it, but the last season of Ozark fucking sucked. And the finale, the final, episode was the most fucking bird-brained fucking bullshit I've ever seen on a finale. Well, that might not be true, because look at stuff like Boardwalk Empire's ending. But overall, this final season of Peaky Blinders hasn't been, bad. It's definitely been of a lower quality, in my opinion, than, 1 through 4. Because as much as I didn't like 4, it was a fucking great season. If they had just not cast Adrian Brody, it'd probably be my favorite season. And the show has definitely gotten away from its original roots, as it was about a street gang and this family, the Shelbys. It has now become almost entirely about Tommy and his, his personal internal dealings and his, political shit and all that. Which is fine. Shows have to change for them to not keep, repeating shit over and over again. But I personally find it all pretty boring, considering we know how it all plays out for, fascism in Britain and all that. I know that the show has definitely skewed away from history, like when he killed Billy Kimber and all that. But I don't think they were going to divert from history that far where they were going to actually kill Mosley. And sure enough, they didn't. But I feel like they definitely should have killed this fucking Jack Nelson guy. I mean, he was too goddamn, I don't know if smarmy is the right word, but I mean, I guess he played the part well, if not for the weird accent he kind of had. But, I mean, he had the look for being someone you just wanted to not like. I mean, he just looked smug at all times, whereas, Tommy's always all stoic. I mean, I always see these fucking channels, how to gain self-confidence, how to command respect, and it's always got a picture of Tommy Shelby just looking dead forward. And it's like, yeah, that'll command fucking respect in real life. It totally won't make people think you're fucking nuts. But again, Cillian Murphy pulls it off. As Tommy, he really does fucking command that level of respect when he just stares blankly. You just know that this guy means business with his fucking dead stare. And I'm really glad that this role has become so popular, and it's definitely opening up more doors for him, because he's a fucking great actor. I mean, you would never know that this guy sounds like a normal American when he talks. I had no idea when I watched the interview. I was like, why does he sound American? Isn't he Irish or something? But that to me just proves how good he is at pulling off these accents he always has to use in movies. Now, that was probably the most American compliment I could ever give somebody. I'm like, oh, it's cool because he sounds American. I definitely didn't, mean it like that, but you get what I'm saying. One thing I definitely want to say, though, is that he really should have just killed that doctor, because the doctor's going to tell everybody that Tommy Shelby's alive. Now, I don't know if Tommy was going to go right back to his family and just tell them, hey, I'm alive. I wasn't sick. It's all good. Let's try to make amends again. Or if he really felt free of everything, free of the tunnels, if you will. And he was finally just going to go out on his own way and wander the path as maybe some, gypsy wanderer. It's tough to say. I can't really see Tommy just doing that, abandoning his, now his 2 kids that he has left. But I guess we'll find out in that movie whenever it comes out. Probably 6 or maybe 10 years from now. Who fucking knows with how movies that conclude series come out. I mean, look at Deadwood. I'm also glad that Michael finally got clapped. I mean, I see a lot of people make arguments for Michael, if they had never brought him into that life, he wouldn't, he would have been happy and all this. But it's they tried to keep him on as just an accountant, and he wanted to be a part of the other shit too. He felt like they didn't take him seriously because he wasn't part of it. He did it because he had something to prove. No one forced him into, killing people. Yeah, sure, he saved Tommy's life in season 3 when he capped Alfie's henchman or whatever. Now, I never really cared much for Michael's character one way or another until they started, shaping him to be Tommy's final adversary. But he spends the entirety of this season in jail and, only really gets out right before he fucking dies. And that kind of felt weak to me. I felt like he maybe deserved a little bit better of a death, despite, not being built up at all and just kind of seeming like a petulant little kid who always had something to prove. I mean, he was blaming Tommy for Polly's death when Polly made her own decisions, and Arthur was actually exacting vengeance on the woman who killed his mom, which I think may have been like intentional to kind of underscore the fact that it had nothing to do with Polly. It was just about Michael wanting to prove to himself that he's better than Tommy. I mean, honestly, most of season 6, Michael's almost written as someone you could feel bad for, not root for to beat Tommy. You just kind of feel bad for his position. I mean, his wife's cheating on him with fucking Oswald Mosley, who is just about the most creepy dude this show has ever had, and that's including the fucking rapist priest from season 3. Credit to the actor, because this guy, I don't know, he's just so unnerving, and the fact that he never gets a comeuppance is kind of frustrating, but I guess that's a bit like real life. I guess Peaky Blinders always felt like it kind of broke the rules of real life to kind of have Tommy outsmart people. And I would have really liked to see that happen because, Oswald Mosley, he's just so easy to hate. I mean, he's so sinister and evil, and he's got this pompous air of superiority. And he doesn't get any comeuppance, whereas Michael, who's kind of this pathetic sort of mama's boy who just wanted to prove to himself that he was hard. And I mean, like I said, his wife's cheating on him. He got easily tricked by Tommy into winding up in prison in the first place. Uncle Jack doesn't seem to give much of a shit about him either way. He knows his daughter's fucking everybody in Britain. And it really seems like he only got Michael out of prison so Tommy could kill him. I mean, honestly, we have no idea what Jack's motives really were besides the fact that he wanted to support the fascists and was an Irish sort of kingpin who now had the ear of the president from America. He never really felt like much of a threat. Another thing I want to mention is Billy Grade. Now, Billy Grade is the Al Borland looking bookkeeper that Arthur found in a bar. I think the dude was formerly like a singer and he used to fix games or something. Either way, Arthur blackmailed him into working for the Blinders and he befriended Finn. Now, at the end of the last season, when the whole scheme was put together to assassinate Oswald Mosley, the one that went to shit and got like 3 people killed, Aberama, one of my favorite characters, Polly, who passed away in real life, R.I.P., and Barney, who I really wish we would have got to see more of. But anyway, before the plan could be pulled off, Finn was alerted, and he announced to his buddy, Billy Grade, that, we're shooting the fascists today. And after Finn walked out of the room, this Richard Karn motherfucker stares at a phone for a few minutes and picks it up. Now, we never see who he called. We never find out anything about that. And then in this season, we don't find anything like that out either. Uncle Jack comes up to him in the shower and grabs him by his fucking wiener and, says, I hear you're the informant in the Peaky Blinders. Now, this could mean a few things because a lot of things are never explained, like Tommy's plans and stuff like that. So this could mean that Al Borland or Billy Grade or whatever the fuck was an informant for the IRA lady, Captain Swing. And when Tommy introduced them at the, the dinner thing where she was at with Oswald Mosley and his wife and all of them, that they exchanged information and he found out from her that she had a mole inside the Peaky Blinders, and that's why he accosted Billy Grade in the showers and was like, you're going to work for me now. At least that's how I read it. I could be wrong, or I could have missed something. But that's my memory of it. No, I don't want to drag on for too long just ranting about this episode. I definitely liked this finale. I overall didn't like the season as much as other seasons. It's not maybe the lowest. It's definitely, I don't know, it might be the lowest. I don't know. I have to watch them all again. It's still a good show. I've got my complaints here and there, but it's definitely a much higher tier show than any show Disney Plus has put out, at least in terms of writing. Now, I know that's not much of a compliment because those are like the most fucking cookie cutter stories in existence, but still, you get what I'm trying to say. And that's not me hating on those shows either. They're fine. I just mean that they're kind of written in a way to be broadly appealing. And I mean, Peaky Blinders is written in a way to be broadly appealing too, I guess, just in a different way. But one last thing I wanted to mention was the character of Duke, who Randy the Witch introduces Tommy to. Now, I feel like his character was sort of underdeveloped. I mean, they got the point across they wanted to get with his character. I like Duke. A lot of people I saw on like Reddit and shit and other fucking forums and message boards, they're like, oh, this fucking shoehorned in character. I think he definitely was meant to be introduced in this season and then expanded on in their last season that was canceled, of course, because of Helen McCrory's death. And COVID, too. You know what I mean? That definitely had probably some contribution to it. I just see a lot of people refer to him as kind of inconsistent, and I thought so too at first, but it kind of makes sense. I mean, he storms out of the building when Arthur forces Billy Gray to kill that bookie, but that bookie was in the war with fucking Arthur, and the whole thing was kind of fucked up. And he says himself, you know, it wasn't fair, and it's like this line of work really isn't gonna be fair, you know what I mean? Uncle Charlie has a nice chat with him and pretty much sets him straight. Now, Uncle Charlie is a character I wish we would have gotten more of. I know so very little about this character, but he is so important to the overall, you know, most of the characters. Like, he's not their blood uncle. They all just call him Uncle Charlie because he's been around them that long. And he was really close with their mom. I believe he even said he was in love with their mom, and he was the guy who fished her out of the canal when she killed herself. But they have a nice long chat in the armory, and I think that kind of puts things into perspective for Duke. I mean, this kid is the son of Tommy Shelby, who was raised as a gypsy, thinking, you know, he was nothing and nobody, fending for himself, stealing. You know, he murdered a man because they refused to give his mom a bed and his mom died. I think Omar Little said it best when he said a man's got to have a code, and this kid already had a pretty strong moral code by his age. I think he said to be about 20 or 19 or something like that. But he's a solid kid. He's his own person. He's not, you know, bowing to anybody else's whim. And I saw a lot of people mad about what Duke did to Finn. Like, I saw people out of nowhere just were Finn fans. I mean, this character has done absolutely nothing for fucking 5 seasons. I know that he was a little kid in the first few, but even then, he couldn't even listen to Tommy to leave out the way he came of the car and instead opens the door, you know, triggering the grenade that I think Tommy has to throw into the goddamn canal to save him. And as Finn himself puts it, he's the brother that Tommy never got around to, so maybe, you know, I mean, that might have a little to do with Tommy, but I mean, you can't just expect somebody to set you straight. He grew up in the life, and they tried to keep him out of the more brutal shit, I believe, after he got shot or something like that. But he was never really depicted as a guy who was about the Shelby lifestyle. He just enjoyed the spoils of the Shelby name. He never really was able to participate in the violence, but he was fully okay with, you know, using the name and the reputation to intimidate people. And this little prick let it slip to Billy Gray, who he's all of a sudden best friends with. I know he's had to work with him for 4 years, but I've worked with people for 4 years and didn't become best friends with them, especially after they were kind of like distrusted by my goddamn, you know, brother. So what happens in the scene is that Billy Gray is basically gonna get killed for his actions as a snitch by some of the younger members of the Peaky Blinders. Duke basically forces Finn to execute Billy Gray because it's his problem. A lot of people are like, oh, he's being told to execute his best friend. It's the reason his aunt died is because this guy got on the phone. It's also the reason Aberama died. It's the reason Barney died. Now, whether he knew this or not, as soon as he had the gun, his choice was to shoot twice at Duke, I believe, or maybe once at Isaiah. I think it was both at Duke, who then punched him before he could get the third shot off. But it's like, what did Finn think he was going to do? Go tell Tommy, yeah, I killed your new son. You know what I mean? What did he think? Like, because he didn't, you know, that was probably on Tommy's order, all of that shit. I don't know. I don't have any sympathy for Finn. And a lot of people were like, oh, would you just do it? It's easy to say. And it's like, no, man, I'm not in the goddamn organized crime lifestyle. I can't have an opinion about that. I'm not part of it. I can't really say what I would do in that case. I think, though, that I wouldn't have tried to pull the gun on somebody whose dad was somebody like Tommy Shelby. I don't think I would have tried to kill Duke. Although I will say the scene felt rushed and not properly explained at all, but a lot of Tommy's master plans at the end of most seasons are never explained. That's why they're like a twist when we find out what they are. Now, that worked to a kind of a middling result in this season, in my opinion. Overall, I liked the final episode, and I liked the final shot of Tommy's belongings burning and him riding off into the sunset. I mean, the show began with him on a black horse. Now he's on a white horse. Maybe that's symbolic of something. Maybe he's no longer, you know what I mean? Well, the white horse is associated with death, so he's still going to bring some death to some people, I imagine. Or probably no one would watch the movie if he wasn't, you know, if it was just Tommy Shelby sitting in a house, you know, making fucking pies and just relaxing. I don't think anybody would watch it. So I've ranted enough about this topic and apparently several others because I keep trailing off, but you guys have a good one. If you like this video, please like it. If you disliked it, please dislike it. Thank you for bearing with me for this 20-minute rant, and I appreciate all of you for listening. I'll see you next time. I know I keep saying it, but the Ronaldo video is next. I promise it'll be the next video I upload. Then after that, we've got Mausoleum, Rykard, Randy's Plot, Morgoth. We've got a whole list of things coming for the Elden Ring stuff. So I'll see you guys soon. Peace.